Kawhi Leonard had barely returned to Toronto before disaster struck. Just days after being traded back to the Raptors, he's dealing with yet another injury. According to reports, the team is already having second thoughts about the move. Let me break down what's happening. Let's set the scene. It's the first day of July 2026, and the NBA offseason just delivered one of its most jaw-dropping trades in years. The LA Clippers agreed to trade All-NBA forward Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors for Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, unprotected first-round picks in 2031 and 2033, a 2027 first-round pick swap, and 2 second-round picks. That's the deal. Kawhi Leonard, a 35-year-old two-time NBA champion, two-time Finals MVP, 7-time All-Star, is a Raptor again. And the moment the news hit, everybody had a reaction. Drake sent a 6-word message welcoming Kawhi Leonard back to Toronto as the Raptors pulled off the blockbuster trade. The city lit up. The fans who watched him carry Toronto to its only championship back in 2019 immediately remembered what it feels like when Kawhi's actually playing for you. And then, almost immediately, people started asking the question that always follows this man everywhere he goes. What about the knee? Because here's the thing about Kawhi Leonard. He's obviously still a great player, but he's 35 and notoriously injury-prone. He was never going to be part of the next contending Clippers team in Los Angeles. That's the reason he was available in the first place. And it's the reason the moment the trade went through, social media didn't just celebrate, it worried. The Los Angeles Clippers opted against handing the 35-year-old star an extension, and instead decided to deal him to the Toronto Raptors, a move that comes as Leonard is owed $50 million in the final year of his current deal. Now think about that for a second. The Clippers, his home team, the franchise he chose over Toronto back in 2019, the organization he spent 7 years building with, couldn't bring themselves to commit long-term. Not to a player who just came off one of the best offensive seasons of his career. The Clippers looked at Kawhi Leonard at 35, looked at his right knee, and said no thanks. And Toronto looked at both of those same things and said, we'll take him. Some fans on X have framed his potential return to Toronto as unfinished business, while others question whether committing significant money to a veteran with an injury history is a gamble the Raptors can afford. It's not the controversy that should concern the Raptors, it's the injury. How could they possibly put their faith into Leonard's right leg? 7 years removed from a miracle season, and 1 season removed from another? And this is where it gets really interesting, because the people raising those questions aren't wrong at all. Kawhi Leonard's knee has been a storyline since before he even left San Antonio. He left the San Antonio Spurs with what was termed as right quadriceps tendinopathy, a chronic condition in his leg that was back in 2018. It's 2026 now. The leg has torn, it's been repaired, it's been managed, it's been monitored, and it just landed back in Toronto along with the rest of him. The deal marks a return to Canada for the star who led the Raptors to an NBA title in 2019, winning Finals MVP after averaging 28.5 points per game in a victory over the Golden State Warriors. That number alone, 28.5 points per game in the finals, tells you everything about what Kawhi is capable of when he's right. He scored 732 points during the 2019 playoffs, the third most in a single postseason in NBA history, trailing only Michael Jordan in 1992 and LeBron James in 2018. So this is who Toronto just got back. A player capable of one of the greatest individual postseason runs in NBA history. A player who also walked out of their city after doing it. A player with a right knee that has been described as a daily management project for the better part of a decade. Leonard may be 35 years old, but he's coming off the best offensive season of his career, averaging 27.9 points per game for the Clippers in 65 appearances last year. Only the second time he's played in 60 or more games during his Clippers tenure. That last part is key. 65 games. That's nearly the entire regular season for Kawhi Leonard. That's not just good, it's a minor miracle. And it happened last year, right before the Clippers shipped him out. So on one hand, you've got a 35-year-old whose body just showed signs of durability it hadn't shown in years. On the other hand, the second you start trusting that knee, history has a way of reminding you why you shouldn't. Leonard is one misstep away from another serious knee injury. That could spell the end of his career at this point in time. In fact, that's the reason he was available in the first place. The Raptors know all of this. They built the deal knowing all of this, and they did it anyway. That tells you how desperate and how confident they are all at once. To understand why this trade means what it means, you've got to go back to 2018, and then to 2019, because the first chapter of Kawhi Leonard's time in Toronto is the entire reason this second chapter even exists. In June 2018, reports surfaced claiming that Leonard had requested a trade from the Spurs after months of tension between his camp and the organization, stemming from a disagreement over his injury rehabilitation program, requesting to be traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. His request to go to the Lakers was not fulfilled, and on July 18, Leonard and teammate Danny Green were traded to the Toronto Raptors in exchange for DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a protected 2019 first-round draft pick. Let's pause there for a second. DeMar DeRozan, the face of the Toronto Raptors franchise, a guy who wore his heart for that city on his sleeve publicly, was moved out the door in a trade he reportedly didn't see coming. Toronto gave up their guy, their locker room leader, a player who loved that city, for a man who had spent the better part of a year rehabbing a mysterious quad injury in his native California, away from his team, and who had made it clear he wanted to play for the Lakers. It was a risky move for the Raptors and their president, Masai Ujiri, given the concerns over Leonard's health and the possibility of him leaving as a free agent at the end of the season. But it worked spectacularly. Leonard was phenomenal in the 2019 postseason, averaging 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists, defeating Joel Embiid's Philadelphia 76ers, thanks to a buzzer-beating Game 7 winner, Giannis Antetokounmpo's Milwaukee Bucks, and Stephen Curry's dynastic Golden State Warriors, en route to his second Finals MVP award. He was the central player in the Raptors' 2019 championship run, including a climactic buzzer beater to win Game 7 of Toronto's Eastern Conference semifinal against the Philadelphia 76ers. That shot, 4 bounces on the rim, an entire city holding its breath, a moment that will live in Raptors history forever. And then he left. Leonard did immediately leave Toronto at the altar in 2019 free agency, choosing instead to team with Paul George on their hometown Los Angeles Clippers, where controversy would ensue over 7 years. At the time, he was the most sought-after free agent during a star-studded summer that also saw Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Jimmy Butler change teams. While Durant and Irving quickly agreed to deals with the Brooklyn Nets and Butler went to the Miami Heat, Leonard bided his time, and the Raptors and the Los Angeles Lakers both thought they had a real chance to sign him, but he eventually settled on the Clippers. So Toronto didn't just lose Kawhi Leonard. They lost him to a team that had traded away an entire dynasty's worth of draft capital to build around him. The Thunder received Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps, all so the Clippers could put Paul George next to Kawhi and finally compete for a title. And it never happened. The deal would send Leonard back to Toronto, where he spent 1 season and led the Raptors to the 2019 championship, something he was never able to accomplish during a disappointing 7-year tenure in Los Angeles. In the end, his time with the Clippers will be remembered for his dramatic arrival, a parade of injuries, a lack of playoff success, and a bizarre investigation. He missed the entire 2021-22 season with a torn ACL, played in 331 of a possible 554 regular season games, won 3 playoff series, and never appeared in a game beyond the second round. 7 years, 1 Western Conference Finals appearance, and he wasn't even on the floor for that one. That's the Kawhi Leonard Clippers era in its entirety. Now here's the thing about Toronto. The city has rebuilt its team entirely since Leonard last played there. No players from the 2019 championship team remain on the roster, and both top executive Masai Ujiri and coach Nick Nurse are gone as well. But current Raptors general manager Bobby Webster was part of the front office that built those 2019 champions. And last year, he put together a roster that had a surprisingly successful season. The Raptors showed last season that they are on the verge of being competitive, after taking the favored Cleveland Cavaliers to 7 games in the first round of the playoffs. And there's more. The 2025-26 Raptors finished 5th in defensive rating, behind only the top 2 regular season teams in each conference: Oklahoma City, Detroit, San Antonio, and Boston. 5th in the entire league in defense, with a squad that includes Scotty Barnes, R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and sophomore Colin Murray-Boyles. Add Kawhi Leonard to that group, and you're not just talking about a playoff team. You're talking about a genuine Eastern Conference threat. Leonard was reportedly only interested in signing an extension with his 2 former teams, the Raptors and the San Antonio Spurs. So the Clippers couldn't keep him. They couldn't maximize his value anywhere else, and his preference pushed the entire negotiation toward one destination: Toronto. Three key reasons Leonard was open to this deal. According to sources, familiarity with a Toronto organization that has the majority of its front office structure still in place, now led by Executive Vice President Bobby Webster, a genuine fondness for the city of Toronto itself, and a belief that the Raptors can contend in the Eastern Conference. So this was not reluctant. This wasn't a guy being shipped somewhere he didn't want to go. Kawhi Leonard looked around the league, looked at his options, and chose Toronto. Again, and that choice came with a price tag. Now let's talk about the knee, because you can't talk about Kawhi Leonard, and especially can't talk about this trade, without talking about that right leg and the brutal, unforgiving history it carries. Despite winning 2 championships and being named to the NBA All-Star team multiple times, Leonard has never played a full 82-game season. Topping out at 74 games in 2016-17, he's played 60 or fewer games in 7 of his 14 seasons. That's the ledger, and it's written entirely in missed games, rehab timelines, and agonizing uncertainty. Every time Kawhi Leonard suits up, there is a quiet but very real conversation happening between his leg and his career. And for much of the last several years, the leg has been winning that argument. During the 2024-25 season, Leonard battled right knee inflammation for the better part of a year. It first became an issue the prior April when swelling in his knee caused him to miss the Clippers' final 8 regular season games. When he attempted to come back and make an impact in the first round of the playoffs, the organization's medical staff realized he wasn't physically ready to perform at such a level and held him out of the series after 2 lackluster performances to save him from himself. Save him from himself. That phrase alone tells you everything about what managing Kawhi Leonard's body actually looks like. It's not just about resting him on the second night of back-to-backs. It's about having to physically pull him out of playoff series because his knee cannot sustain the load even when his heart is willing to try. Most notably, Leonard tore his ACL during Game 4 of the Clippers' second-round series with the Jazz in 2021. The injury knocked him out of the playoffs, sidelined him for the entire 2021-22 season, and contributed to him missing 19 of the team's first 25 games in the 2022-23 season. Then in Game 2 of the Clippers' first-round series with the Phoenix Suns in 2023, Leonard tore his right meniscus and had to undergo another surgery. This is not a one-time injury story. This is a pattern. ACL, meniscus, quadriceps tendinopathy, knee inflammation. One after another, across multiple seasons, across multiple surgical procedures, in a career that should have produced 3 or 4 more deep playoff runs than it did. The Clippers' best window closed twice, while their franchise player sat in street clothes. And when the NBA flagged him early in his Clippers tenure, before any of those major injuries, the league's official statement was blunt. Kawhi Leonard is not a healthy player under the league's resting policy, the NBA spokesman said. The league office determined that Leonard was not sufficiently healthy to play in back-to-back games, and that he would rarely be fully healthy during his 7 years with the franchise. Not a healthy player. That was the characterization in 2019, before the ACL tear, before the meniscus surgery, before the knee inflammation that cost him the bulk of the 2024-25 season. And yet, and this is the part that makes the Toronto trade make sense, he bounced back, spectacularly. After appearing in just 37 games of the 2024-25 season, Leonard enjoyed a bounce-back campaign at the age of 34, averaging a 28-6-4 line on 51, 39, 89 shooting splits over 65 games. It was arguably the best statistical season of his career. He earned MVP and All-NBA first-team consideration. 65 games, MVP consideration at 34, after missing most of the prior year with a bum knee. That's the other side of the Kawhi Leonard injury story that doesn't get told often enough. That when this man heals, when the body cooperates, when the stars align, he doesn't just return, he dominates. Since his NBA debut, Leonard has played in 733 out of a possible 1,112 regular season games, about 65.9% of all possible appearances, so roughly a third of his career has been spent on the sideline. But the 2/3 he did play, good enough for 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, and multiple All-NBA selections. The question isn't whether Kawhi is good when healthy. The question is whether he can stay healthy enough, long enough, in a Raptors uniform for it to matter. The Clippers committed to continuing to monitor his knee daily, seeing how it responds as the workload increases, and focusing on the long-term approach, rather than jeopardizing the final years of his prime. That approach bought them one extraordinary season. Now it's Toronto's job to carry that same philosophy into the 2026-27 campaign and beyond. He's back on an expiring contract, but he plans to stay with the Raptors beyond the 2026-27 season. So this isn't a one-year gamble. Leonard will now be eligible to sign up to a 2-year extension worth $123.7 million with his new team. According to ESPN's Bobby Marks, that's the full commitment Toronto is being asked to make, not just this season, multiple seasons, with a knee that has been surgically repaired more than once, and that requires daily monitoring just to stay functional. The knee isn't even the only complication following Kawhi Leonard into Toronto. There's something else, something that has been building since September 2025 and hasn't gone away. An ongoing NBA investigation that, depending on how it lands, could create a headache the Raptors didn't sign up for. The Clippers are under investigation by the NBA, focused on whether they circumvented the salary cap by funneling money to Leonard through his $28 million endorsement deal with green banking company Aspiration, which also had a $300 million 23-year endorsement deal with the team. Team owner Steve Ballmer, who invested $60 million in Aspiration, has denied he had knowledge of Leonard's deal. Leonard and his uncle and business advisor Dennis Robertson have both been interviewed by investigators as part of the league's inquiry. Let's break down exactly what's being alleged here. Aspiration was presented as a sustainability company, a green banking brand that happened to have a massive commercial partnership with the Clippers. The same company then signed Kawhi Leonard to a separate $28 million endorsement deal. And the NBA wants to know whether that endorsement deal was real work, or whether it was a way to pay Leonard money that wouldn't count against the salary cap. Leonard, in coordination with the Clippers, remains under investigation by the NBA for allegedly circumventing the salary cap. A Pulitzer Prize-winning investigation uncovered an alleged no-show job that earned Leonard an additional $50 million. A no-show job. That's the allegation. That Leonard was paid $28 million by a company owned and funded in part by the man who also owned his basketball team, for work he may or may not have actually performed. And then that company, Aspiration, went bankrupt. Its CEO was sentenced to 14 years in federal prison, and the whole arrangement ended up under an NBA microscope being operated by one of New York's most high-profile law firms. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said before the NBA Finals began that it was time to wrap the investigation up. The investigation has been conducted by a law firm independent of the NBA, Silver said. That said, the investigation is still open. Ballmer, Clippers executives, Leonard, and Robertson have all been interviewed as part of the inquiry, which is being conducted by New York-based law firm Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen & Katz, and remains open. Silver was most recently asked about the investigation ahead of the 2026 NBA Finals. While he said the inquiry is far along, he would not provide a timeline for its expected completion. And here's what makes this land awkwardly for Toronto. It's hard to imagine the NBA allowing this trade to go through if the results of its investigation into Aspiration could affect Leonard's status with the Raptors. But the investigation is still technically ongoing in the background. We don't know what its findings could mean for Leonard. As of now, Leonard is a member of the Raptors in good standing. Still, questions will be raised in and around league offices if the Clippers manage to circumvent the salary cap. If nothing happens to Leonard, that doesn't mean Ballmer is in the clear. At their disposal, the league can use a myriad of punishments, a substantial fine, or a first-round draft pick, or both. So while Toronto is celebrating the return of their greatest player in franchise history, there is a legal and regulatory process still grinding quietly in the background. Could Leonard face a suspension? The NBA has not suspended the superstar for his involvement with the Clippers' Aspiration scandal. Not yet, but not yet and never are very different things. The timing of all of this is almost poetically strange. 8 years ago, the Toronto Raptors were stuck as a strong regular season team, unable to break through in the playoffs. So they took a home run swing, trading their leading scorer, DeMar DeRozan, along with a recent lottery pick in draft capital, for Kawhi Leonard in the two-way star's final season before free agency. Fast forward to 2026, and the Raptors are trying the exact same move once again, aiming to raise their ceiling by trading their leading scorer, this time Brandon Ingram, a recent lottery pick in Grady Dick, and draft capital for Leonard in his final season before free agency. History, literally rhyming. The same franchise, the same basic formula, the same player. 8 years later, the difference is that in 2018, Kawhi was 27 and coming off a quad tendinopathy issue. In 2026, he's 35, coming off an ACL tear, a meniscus surgery, a knee inflammation scare, and a federal investigation into his former employer's finances. The other main difference between the two Leonard trades is the cost and draft capital. Toronto's original deal to acquire Leonard back in 2018 was, in retrospect, the last major superstar trade that didn't involve a giant collection of draft picks. This one involved quite a few more. So what exactly are the Raptors banking on here? Let's lay it out plainly. They're betting that a 35-year-old with one of the most documented knee injury histories in modern NBA history just delivered what might be his best statistical season and can do it again in a new city with a new team under a new coaching staff while a league investigation into his former employer continues to loom. That's the bet, and to understand why they made it, you have to look at what Toronto actually built around him. Leonard joins a team that includes Barnes, Canadian swingman RJ Barrett, talented rookie Colin Murray-Boyles, point guard Emmanuel Quickley, and young rotation pieces Jamal Shead and Jacoby Walter. Leonard, Barnes, and rising sophomore Colin Murray-Boyles could form what ESPN described as an impenetrable defensive trio. Think about that for a moment. A trio anchoring a defense that already finished top 5 in the league, with the most decorated two-way player of his generation dropping in as the headliner. The talent is there, the pieces fit. On paper, this is a genuine Eastern Conference contender, but Toronto didn't have to move Scotty Barnes, Colin Murray-Boyles, RJ Barrett, or Emmanuel Quickley. Not even 2026 first-round pick Allen Graves. The front office managed to keep the entire playoff rotation intact, while bringing in a legitimate, playoff-proven #1 option. That's the genius of how they structured this. The players they kept, the young core that made Cleveland's life miserable in 7 games, they're all still here. They got to replace Ingram in the starting lineup next season and gave up nothing except draft picks to do it. Dick was struggling to stick in the rotation and might have been on his way out anyway. The Raptors didn't blow up their team to get Kawhi. They slotted him in. That's a very different situation from 2018, when DeRozan, the heart of the franchise, was moved out the door in a trade that broke real hearts across the city. This time, the locker room stays intact, the culture stays intact, and a generational talent walks in to lead them. As Chris Haynes reported, Leonard is already working on a 2-year contract extension in Toronto. 2 years. That's the commitment. That's what this means. Once it was revealed that Leonard would only sign a contract extension with the Raptors, a trade to Toronto seemed inevitable. The Raptors will now have a chance to negotiate with Leonard on a new deal that could see him finish his career with Toronto. Finish his career in Toronto. Let that sit for a second. The man who delivered the franchise its only championship, who bounced the ball off the rim 4 times in a Game 7 buzzer beater against Philadelphia, who won Finals MVP against the Warriors. That man now has a genuine path to ending his career in a Raptors uniform. Not just passing through, staying. This is, after all, the same player who delivered Toronto its only NBA championship in 2019, averaging 28.5 points in the finals against the Golden State Warriors and claiming Finals MVP. After years of injuries, Leonard has bounced back over the past 2 seasons to return to all-NBA form. 2 seasons of actual basketball. 2 seasons of showing up, putting numbers on the board, and reminding the league that when this man is right, there isn't a better two-way player alive. When he plays, man, he is good. He's a two-way menace on par with anyone in his generation at his peak, and he gives Toronto a chance to win. But the injury shadow never fully leaves. A big extension could go poorly, given Leonard's age and history of injuries. That's not a fringe opinion. That's the mainstream take from every analyst who has watched this man's career. Every season he's played in the NBA has been shadowed by the same question: how long can he stay healthy? And the answer, historically, has rarely been the whole year. What's different now? What makes this version of the story more compelling than any previous chapter is that the stage is set better than it's ever been. The Raptors built their roster deliberately around defense and youth. The Eastern Conference, while competitive, doesn't have the same ceiling-level dominance it's had in years past. And Kawhi Leonard, coming off a near MVP season, is arriving to a city that genuinely loves him. Genuinely, in a way few cities love any basketball player. His reported willingness to sign an extension with the Raptors, if traded, has reignited one of the most enduring debates in franchise history over his legacy in Toronto. Because here's the thing about legacies. One season, however brilliant, is a visit. What Kawhi Leonard is being offered right now is something rarer. A second chapter, a chance to finish what he started. A chance to be the player who didn't just deliver Toronto one championship and disappear, but who came back, stayed, and made the city his home for the final act of a career that was never short on drama. Whether his right knee cooperates with that plan is the only thing standing between a storybook ending and another injury report. And given the ledger that leg carries, that's not a small if. It's the biggest question in the NBA right now. Kawhi Leonard is back in Toronto. The city is ready. The team is ready. The question is whether his body, after everything it's been through,